songwriter, recipient of the SOCAN Foundation's Her Music Award. And my other guest today is the Queen of Jazz, Blues, and Gospel, honorary member of the Order of Canada recipient Jackie Richardson. Shakura Saida is the producer of On Their Shoulders, which is a once-in-a-lifetime concert celebrating the African-Canadian artists who have made invaluable contributions to the music of Toronto and the Toronto music community. And Jackie will be performing in the show, along with some very other special guests that we're going to get into in just a minute. On Their Shoulders is happening at Kerner Hall on June 21st. Shakura and Jackie, my queens, welcome to the show. Thank you for
Thank
being
you
here.
for having us.
That was a great introduction.
I'm telling you.
I was like, who's that she talking about?
I am thrilled to have you both here.
Thank
Really
you.
excited to get into talking about this show. So, Shakura, let's start with you. What was the inception for this show? What made you want to produce it?
Jackie, Salome Bay, Archie Lane, Joe Seeley, Jody Drake, Bobby Sharon, like all these women and men, musicians, vocalists that were the foundation for who I am. I wanted the opportunity to applaud them. We've lost a lot of them, and I didn't want to let another day go by, another moment go by without acknowledging them, and also without making sure that this new generation of jazzers that are out there now, that they get an opportunity to hear about the people who laid the foundation for our city's jazz community.
And Jackie, how did you get involved in the show? Were you involved in it from the beginning, or what was your thought when you were pitched the idea?
I wasn't pitched the idea. I was told it was going to happen.
She was voluntold.
You were voluntold.
It's true. Do you want to be in a
Yes.
show I'm producing?
Yes, my daughter asked me, and I said, yes, okay, when?
And you are there. So this show, you're talking a little bit about the artists that are going to be highlighted, including, Frank Wright and Archie Lane, Jody Drake, Jackie Shane, Diane Brooks. What do these people mean to you? How did they influence the way you go about performing or making music?
Jackie.
Wow. All, you just named my sheroes and heroes. Archie, I think about him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pillar for us, and the most amazing musician who shared and gladly mentored, through his whole career, and had a deep respect for maintaining our history. I don't think that there's anybody like Archie who has so many artifacts and pictures and programs of that musical, that our community history, not only music but just who was who. Diane Brooks, I remember when Diane Brooks was around, like I believe that we all wanted to sound like Diane Brooks. She was just magnificent and gorgeous, and that unique sound of hers that I haven't heard from anybody else, and just a beautiful soul. And Jody Drake, oh my gosh, Jody Drake, Ada Lee are definitely the forerunners for our mentors, and Ada sang with Count Basie. She sang with Duke Ellington, and we were fortunate enough that she fell in love with somebody in Canada and stayed a while, And she just, this lady that's not even 5 feet, would wrap her arms around us and just talk and tell us about the business. Jody Drake was wonderful spirit, and when she sang the blues, she did all those double entendre songs. Yeah. Oh my God, she was so funny and so good. The list of mentors like that were givers, and then along comes Salome Bay, who we call Mother Earth, and there's no doubt about those arms stretched right around Canada. Anybody that she met. We did a play of hers called
Rainbow
World.
World.
And I think when I look back on our casting, there's got to be, I think, probably 65-70% of those performers are,
Still performing.
yes,
Wow.
amazing.
And they were all kids. I mean, I was in my 20s, and most of the cast was between 12 and 20.
Mhm.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're very young.
So I was the only one that was up,
You were 24.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were the elder of the group.
Yes, I was
She was
sitting
the-
on
she
the
was the
edges
mom.
watching everybody
Yeah.
do their thing.
Yeah, she was.
It was so the wealth of musicianship and talented people from this country is just amazing.
From the city.
Yes.
From the city. You know, I mean, you can talk countrywide, but if you just talk about Toronto and you talk about how everybody used to learn, you learn by watching, you learn by listening. You go to these clubs that are no longer around, and you'd hear these musicians playing and working with each other. So you learned not just how to play and how to listen, but you also learned the language of musicians, how to respect each other,
Mhm.
how to live around each other, how to support each other. All of those things were constant lessons that were being taught. You weren't just a musician, you were part of a community of people, and yeah.
And what I miss is it used to be the time of jam sessions on
Mhm.
matinees on the weekends.
Yeah.
And that was the best training ground.
Listen, that's how
Oh.
I first met. I went to Dimples over at Broadview and Queen.
Mhm.
Had been out of school for like a year, and we went to Dimples, and Archie Lean was there. Never met him before, and I got up and I sang. It was Archie. It was Archie Lean. It was Kingsley Etienne, and it was Betty Richardson, who was Ma's sister.
Wow.
And I got up and I sang a couple songs, and I went back and sat at the booth with my friend. And all of a sudden, these three people came and sat down, cornered me into the booth. Archie was across from me, Betty was next to me, and Kingsley was next to Archie. They went, "Who are you? Where are you from? What you doing?" And then for the next half an hour, they dissected my songs, what I had done right, and what I should do better at.
Wow.
At a jam.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah, and I didn't ask for it. I mean, but it allowed me to understand that these people had a stake in me, and they immediately claimed me. And so when I walked into that first rehearsal, I was telling you about the first time I met Ma was in 1985, and it was a rehearsal for Madame Gertrude, a play that Salome Bay had written. And Joe Seeley, Archie Lean, and Howard Matthews were the producers of it. And I walked into that room. I already knew Joe, and I had met Archie, and I automatically understood that this was now an extension of my family, an extension of my education, an extension of my community. And that stayed with me from that day on until now. It means that wherever I am, I'm working towards building community.
Mm-hmm.
And always being the student and always being the teacher, because that's what they were for me.
I imagine that, especially when you're just coming up and you're kind of learning who you are as a musician, kind of having that community and feeling like there are artists there to catch you if you need it must be a really comforting and supporting thing when you're beginning. Well, and even throughout your career, really.
Yeah, I think it means that it's okay to not fail, but to go outside on a limb. I remember doing a radio interview with another singer, and after the interview, I get a phone call when I got home, and it was Ma Jack saying, "Baby, don't you ever compete with another singer, ever. You let them do what they do, and you do what you do." Because while I was performing with this other singer, they started doing stuff, and then I went, "Oh, I've got to do that stuff." And I was terrible because I didn't know how to keep up with them. And it was proven, the whole time. But there was always that thing of, you can fail, but we're going to tell you how you failed and how to be better next time. You know, Joe Seeley, I invited him to do a gig, and he goes, I don't know if I want to do it. You know, you were kind of sharp the last time we played together. And I'm like, but I'll be better. I'll work on it. He goes, I don't know. Let me think about it. You know, he did the gig, but he let me know that he didn't want to work with me if I wasn't going to be better. You know.
Well, I love that you said that you know, um, that what you got out of the years was that you were the student and the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
or and the thing about that is it never stops
Ever.
and that's the joy.
Yeah.
You know, today are you the student or are you the teacher?
Or are you both?
Are you both?
Yes.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, there's so many people that pull your coat, you know, in a great way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know that just keeps you okay. So I like for me, I had to stop trying to go for perfection.
Mm.
I had to stop. I had to allow myself to do whatever I do through the week to prepare, and then on that day, you gotta leave it open, and let whatever happens, and I accept those notes that I didn't hit that night, because the other way was playing it safe and being comfortable and not being able to fly. I want to learn to fly every time,
Mm.
you know?
And it's